All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CUIIC Academy's webinar session. My name is Ali Bayat. I'm the director of CUIIC. I'll be moderating today's session. The title is Visual Leadership, Team Building, and Safety Culture by Steve Joyce. Before we start, a couple of slides about CUIIC Academy. It's organized by Canadian Underground Infrastructure Innovation Center, located at the University of Alberta. CUIIC is active on education and research. On education side, CUIIC Academy basically offers classes, courses to help basically further the educational opportunities across the country. Webinar series, I think we are at episode 50 plus, probably. It's been over 4 years. It covers a variety of topics related to underground infrastructure. Speakers are industry leading professionals. They are volunteering, providing this educational session. It's every basically third Thursday of each month at 11 Mountain Time or 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Before we move on, just as an update, or in-person events, we call it summits. We just had the spring summit in Mississauga, but fall summit, it's from September 15 to 17. It's going to be in Vancouver at the UBC downtown campus in Robinson Square. There are going to be 2 main workshops. One is safety, and the other one is pipeline rehabilitation. So it's a 3-day event, and you can find more information again on CUIIC website. I also like to thank the 2026 webinar series sponsor, Ackerman, is the sponsor for this year, and we appreciate their support. With that, I want to move just to briefly introduce Steve. Steve is a corporate safety and training manager with Shanghai Construction. He's been a safety professional with 17 years in construction management, OHS, and COR compliance. And basically, we have known Steve for a few years now. He's one of the most passionate people about the safety, and I always enjoy listening to him talking about different aspects of the safety. So with that, Steve, I'll wrap it up, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. A little bit about the presentation. It's really about how can accountability be made part of the company's operating process, how employees can be encouraged to see senior management as an ally in developing safety solutions. And what kind of team are we? What kind of team do we have at our companies, at our job sites, and how do we communicate effectively? And how do we come together to achieve those goals? Why is competency development, coaching, and mentoring programs so vital to the overall success? So we'll get going there. Whose job is it anyways? This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. It's a very interesting story. So when we look at this, I'm sure that very certain that the vast majority have heard this story before, and I'm like you guys to consider how many have lived through this story out on our job sites, in the companies that we work for, projects that we've been on, teams that we've been on. So it's really important for us to consider that the job that needed to be done was making sure that competent people were leading the teams, verifying that the people doing those jobs are competent to do them, having a plan in place, and everybody is working towards that plan. And if something's not working, we stop, reassess, and fix it. Intervening for safety's sake. Those are all pretty important jobs, and we need to know who's responsible and accountable to do those jobs. Because we do know that a lot of people will decide what they want to do, and that doesn't always work for our teams. So, what kind of team are we? When we find ourselves constantly putting out fires, and when we don't have people accountable for that, for those previous jobs in those slides, that's what's going to happen. We're continuously trying to figure out what went wrong. We're in damage control mode most of the time, and it wears you down. It normalizes in the teams, and it erodes the team momentum. Some might just say, well, you know, that's the way it goes, and we get really good at fixing our problems. In our industry, the underground infrastructure industry, it's critical that the above situation, mindset, safety culture, it's not how we do business. We must have a culture of accountability. Visual leadership, it definitely sets the standard for our team when we see successful teams. So where do we start? I've got a really good video here that I find inspires myself and teams that I've worked on. And it gives us the chance to think about how we build those teams and what accountability means to us. Okay, we'll skip that one. Okay, so essentially in the video, it's speaking to what empowers our teams, makes us successful as teams, and how do we ensure that that's part of the process in our company that makes it work. So really important things are training for managers and frontline supervisors to increase soft skills, time management, and communications. When we communicate clearly and properly, we always do better. Coaching and mentoring approach, experienced employees supporting new employees in their roles, dedicated safety advisors for each work site. Those kinds of things help our teams understand what's expected of them and how they can get better. A coaching mentoring approach, it forms a bond and a relationship in that process with those people so that they feel as though they're valued. We're giving them that guidance. And dedicated safety advisors at the work site, that they get involved in that day-to-day work plan. That really makes us successful because safety tends to be our first thought when we plan our work with our safety advisors participating in that plan. And then culture of caring, listening, assessing, plan, and intervene. Those are the things that go along with that coaching and mentoring approach. When people see that you care and you're listening and you're assessing how they're doing their job, we're not micromanaging, but we're helping, that really makes the difference in how a team functions. So that story that we started off with, it might be confusing. It may leave a lot of us wondering, do we really operate like that? And I can honestly say I've been part of work sites, teams where it was like that. There's just no clear communication. And the message is quite clear when you function in that. It's just a fact that nobody took responsibility, so little to nothing gets accomplished. And we'll see it in the day-to-day operations and the results of the team. It's a story that plays out often in organizations and companies and on teams. Like I said, I've been on teams where that really was our reality, and we struggle to get to where we need to be. Anywhere there's a lack, like that culture that lacks accountability, is where we're going to see those results. But how do we get people to take responsibility for their work is really the key. Different things work in different situations. It's not a cookie cutter type of strategy that we use. So These are some of the strategies that have proven to be effective. But I was just wanting to say before we move on, let's ask ourselves, ask a question of the participants, and you guys can just jot it down for yourself. Think about 3 things that stand out the most in your company that helps employees work as a team, creates a team effort, and ensures team success. So think of 3 things, just jot them down for yourselves, that helps employees work as a team, it creates a team effort, and it ensures team success. And we're going to kind of come back to that in a bit. So when we think about those strategies, becoming a role model, more people in our teams need to take this on. You can't tell people what to do if you yourself aren't willing to hold yourself to that same level. That's really important. Accountability there as a role model. If you want people to act responsibly, you must be accountable. Your team and your company are most likely looking for that direction. They're definitely going to be looking for that direction. Don't make assumptions. This is something that happens a lot in our teams. We don't assume that others know instinctively what to do and when to do it, or even what you expect from them. Before people can take a responsibility for their work, they require clear communication. The more we communicate, the better the results are likely to be. And we need to set the standard. If you expect excellence, it's up to you to set those standards for the responsibility and performance. Like, make each task and goal measurable and set it on a reasonable timeline so it's achievable for our team members. Give people a clear target and they'll work to reach it. And from what I find, when we do those things, they'll surpass those as well. So those are 3 really important strategies there that help us to get to that level. Okay, we'll have to skip this one too because we don't have the sound. That there is a very it's a bit of a funny one. It's about how we communicate and the lack thereof when we tell people what's expected of them in the day. A lot of the times we're really hoping, if our communication skills, those soft skills, are not where they need to be, we typically take the person that swings the hammer the best, that turns that wrench the best, that does the job the best, and we give them the radio, and then we expect them to go out there and do the job of a leader when they're more of a hands-on person. And so giving the ability, helping with communication is how we become successful. So having a pre and after work planning and coordination meeting is an excellent strategy. We understand what's expected, and then afterwards we check and see, how did we do? Did we do well that day? Did we do well in our communication? Get feedback. It's like a debriefing, and we get those people's their participation, the crew members, the leaders, and find out how well did we do in our planning. Monthly safety meetings with senior management, that gives us an opportunity so senior management can look and see where they can help, and then we're actually planning how we're going to achieve those goals. Daily toolbox talks, safety talks, and introduce the daily process of the project. We're involving those safety and our project team in that. Weekly safety project team meetings, bring our contractors in, make sure that we understand how are we working together in the team as well as the contractors. And joint worksite health and safety committees, those are really important tools, those strategies that bring the whole site together, if that's the circumstances, or the relationship between our employees and our management as well. So those joint work site safety committees are independent, but then that information goes back to management. All right, so where do we want to be? get the buy-in. That's really where we need to be, is having that buy-in so that we can go the distance. We really need people to buy in and commit if we want to succeed. We need each vision to be compelling. So if we have a goal, if we know where we want to be with our safety culture and our communication, make sure that that's a good goal. Each goal should be built towards the whole goal, and then each task needs to be laced with motivation for them. And I know those are kind of buzzwords, catchwords, but it really does make the difference when we motivate people and we see what makes it the best way they can get it done. And if you need people to feel compelled, inspired, motivated, and they need to take responsibility, those things are really, really important for that strategy to get the buy-in that we need. Okay, so let me skip back. Make regular checkups. We talked a little bit about this in the other slides there. One of the biggest reasons that people fall short is the lack of follow through by leadership. We help people stay focused, setting up regular checkpoints, phone calls, or meetings where everyone can communicate and catch up, staying focused on moving forward and being accountable. That's not micromanaging. When people know that there's checkups, they're less likely to be procrastinating and more likely to hit their target when we have those checkups. Those are things that are really important, and we can set the standard and make that difference by not micromanaging, like making sure that people understand that we're checking in. When we check in and we do it that way, it makes the difference for our teams and they feel supported that way. That's what makes the difference there. Provide that support and training, especially with a startup or a new initiative. There's lots of things that we're doing different in the industry now, lots of different equipment and processes that we're putting in place. So when we're taking on those projects or tasks that they've never faced before, make sure everybody has the training and the resources that they need to be successful, and provide help in resolving any issues that might arise. The one thing I can think of that makes the really big difference for us is the on-site hands-on training activities. Those things really make the difference for us, and then it gives us that support, and it is an initiative to get better. And avoid having your team become everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. When we do those things, we don't have that doubt. Nobody's like unsure, and we don't have the gaps in place. So we commit to becoming the kind of leader who takes responsibility for our own lives and the leadership. So we definitely have a plan, and we live that plan through. So the visual leadership component of this, and this is where our management really makes that difference, forming the safety culture, bringing the team together, is we really put an onus on the competency, the coach and mentor program. The coach and mentor programs are something that makes a huge difference for frontline supervisors, having that leadership competency form, helping those frontline supervisors develop the soft skills that are required. It helps them in their roles and their responsibility. NCSO training for project managers and frontline supervisors. This makes a huge difference in companies and teams. When we start all thinking as safety for a first thought, you don't like understand it until you hear those conversations between a project manager that has an NCSO certificate and the safety advisors, and then the frontline supervisors. We plan adequately, and then we follow through adequately. And it does advance. It makes safety the first thought, and it advances us from reactive safety to proactive safety by making that change. It's an investment in your company and your team and your safety culture. So equipment operators competency forms, that's really big. It helps us understand operator competency. It helps us have other operators see that, you know, there's a better way to do things, coach and mentor each other. helping competency with job-specific forms, your laborers, the confined space attendants, making a commitment to those employees' success is a result in the team's success. So they see us caring about their success, and then they really want the team to be successful. Connecting daily tasks and employee development to the organizational goals, ensuring that those efforts have a maximum business impact. And that's where this hands-on training on site really comes in as important. Team building and setting expectations for accountability. Those things really help bring the team together and build that trust. Functional solutions to address cross-functional processes missing between the office and the site. Your safety culture will promote a corporate atmosphere that prioritizes the improvement of occupational safety within the company. So that's bringing that corporate office together with the frontline supervisors and the site activities. So now we're transitioning to a proactive organization by doing that. The management group understands. We have them out at site. They can co-present in toolbox talks. We're out there doing site inspections to deliver that company cultural changes. We'll see and change things in real time when we do that thing. And then we exemplify our leadership and champion the company's safety culture by doing that. Coach and mentoring staff while presenting toolbox talks. We talked a little bit about this already. Site inspections, we can be out there coaching and mentoring during those. Recognizing and implementing immediate changes. I stated that already. It makes a huge difference when the company makes changes in real time, especially for those field workers. Setting clearly aligned goals and enabling employees to achieve those goals is really, really important. So ensuring accountability within the team and not accepting poor performance. That's a tough one there. When we understand that we're not going to accept poor performance and we have a good way of communicating that. It's really important. So support and team building. We do a safe start every year, and it's really about coming together for our team building, and it brings us together as a company, and it makes us really, really successful. I know a lot of people in our company really look forward to it. So we asked that question earlier on, the 3 things. So what do you see in your organization as far as building your teams? Because it is really important to our company's success when we have that as an opportunity. So some of the change management measures, what I find, and we found a lot of the time, is that when we start changing procedures, and we need to have a procedure in place to identify those potential hazards that new changes may introduce. It's like having a JHA, and we take it out, we develop a JHA, and then we take it out into the field and we make sure that it's working. We give it to the crews that are using it, and then they mark it up. Blue, black, red, it comes back to us, and we know that those risks have been reduced when we make a change in our processes. Supporting that change, effective change management helps employees understand, accept new safety processes. It combats resistance, where experienced workers have their own way of doing things and they don't like change. We need to really make sure that we understand that that's a risk as well. Maintaining stability to prevent operational disruptions, staff shortages, lack of talent or expertise, all of which can lead to stress, fatigue, and potential safety shortcuts. So we're watching and focusing on those things. And that cultural alignment is really important. We need to approach safety initiatives with a structured approach. The team ensures that new safety behaviors become embedded in our safety culture. That's really, really important. So thinking about what we've gone through, empowering our employees to take ownership and be accountable for safety culture is really, really important. Making accountability part of your company's operating process. That's some of those things. We driven towards how we get that done. Talk about it, share ideas, train and educate our employees is huge as to what accountability means in the workplace. And then use that as a foundation for everybody. Works from that, and as they make accountability important for an organizational goal. And ensure employees see senior management as an ally and an advocate for safety solutions, and promoting positive change in the company's day-to-day business. This one is really, really important because there's always this belief that when people see management out on the job site, that they don't have the right intent, that can be what your safety culture is. So this helps that when the company employees see management as an ally. So maintaining proper change management, we talked in the last slides there about why things don't work and how all the things that we can put in place, because new initiatives can fail. People don't participate, there's confusion, and there is a weaker, less safety culture in the company. So keeping people engaged and actively participating really helps to make sure that we're successful in that. And we have a lot of good opportunities about how we can make that reality. So in conclusion, this is a slide that we put together with my VP. And when we went through some of the things that we've gone through, he's recognized that it's an attitude, our team and our safety culture, and it all ties together. That attitude of being positive feeds into the attitude, feeds into the safety culture, and the culture, it goes both ways. It doesn't just go one way. And that attitude encourages people to be positive, and then we get a stronger safety culture. So it really does. It's a continuous thing, and once we start that momentum, it can be a continuous momentum, and you'll see that it supports itself once we get that going. So it's really important to realize that it takes effort, but once that momentum gets going, you'll see results, and you'll be happy with those results, and so will your team. Okay, so we're to the questions, and I think we've got Ali, you've got the...
Yes, no, thank you, Steve, for the presentation. As I mentioned, you can type your questions there. We have already a few questions. So Steve, first one is, in what ways can you encourage worker participation in safe start meetings?
In the safe start meetings?
Yes.
I think it really is about doing things differently. Like I don't like when we do our safe start meetings and things like that to just have presentations that focus on the things that we've focused on throughout the year. Like we do different things, breakout sessions where we have people develop rescue plans and get more people involved in things like that, like skill testing things, interactive functions like breakout sessions, things that really think outside the box, so that we're not just doing presentations on our JHAs or risk assessments and things like that. Build all of our policy into active participation, and then you'll get better employee participation.
Awesome. Next question is, if you have a company when frontline workers don't see management as an ally, what suggestion do you have to help rebuild that relationship?
I think a lot of what's worked for us is, like we've gone through it in the slides, management being present. And if your management isn't that present, and I know that's not an easy change to make with management being out, try safety observation programs, like doing safety observation cards and having participants fill out those cards, like our crew members and things like that. But if we're going to do that, then you have to act on them and really be serious about making good change, because those employees are the ones doing the jobs and they do have good ideas. It doesn't mean that we have to spend money every time they have an idea, but if we do, then it has to benefit the company. It has to benefit everybody. And if we can even change our processes or change the way we do things or do training and things like that and listen to those safety observations, that helps.
Okay, good. Next question. How can leaders ensure that their visual presence on site is perceived as genuine care rather than just the compliance-driven checklist or show safety?
I think that goes, one that really works is when, if we're talking about like, say, safety inspections, involve the workers. Like I said, I know from my experience in industry, whenever you're out on a job site and you see a group of white hats going out there, they don't think that that's a positive thing. They think that we're out there to find error, or somebody's going to get in trouble, or we're gonna have a bunch of corrective actions that just like they're impunitive, they punish. It's not like that. Like, involve workers, and then they'll see that when we're out there, we're trying to make improvements in the job site. The more we communicate with them, the more we coach and mentor and educate them towards that safety culture, the better results we get.
Perfect. The question on the worker side, how do you handle a situation where an employee hesitates to intervene because they fear backlash or being labeled as a whistleblower by their peers?
That's a really good question. And my I coined a phrase many years ago with one of my coworkers, that it's not mean to intervene, and people laughed when they heard it. And it's so important, and have a plan in place to help people understand that intervention for safety's sake is the top priority for your company. But then you have to live that. Like, other workers have to see supervisors, managers intervening for safety's sake, and then see that that's not a negative thing. It's changing the negativity around intervening. That's the key to do that.
One more question again on the worker side. Experienced workers often show resistance to new safety protocols because they've always done it this way. What soft skills of communication strategies have you found most effective in breaking through that resistance?
Probably the most effective thing is like clear communication. If we know that it's happening, then we have to involve those individuals in understanding the why. And it's not always easy, because it's a learned behavior, it's a learned practice, and they need to know why it's changing. And then you need to ask them to be an advocate for it. Don't be shy, because that's typically what happens, is we feel as though we're going to hurt their feelings. And it's another intervention for safety's sake. That's intervening for safety's sake, is clearly communicating one-on-one that we understand that there's a resistance there. And then how can we get past that? And most of the times, almost 99% of the time, it's understanding why we're doing it, and then asking for that buy-in, and then expecting that. And like I said, expect performance, expect that level. And then if it isn't happening, why isn't it happening?
Okay. One last question, Steve, before we wrap it up. When project deadlines are tight and pressure is high, project managers might prioritize speed over the safety principles. How do you effectively align safety expectation with strict construction schedules?
That's an awesome question. And we've been faced with that many times. It's almost like it's the checkered flag syndrome. And when we went through the slide with the monthly managers meetings and the meetings that we have with our project managers, if project managers, like, getting their NCSO is huge for that. I know that's a big step, but before that step, clearly communicating that in your manager's meeting, that there's certain communications, like nonverbal, or some communications that we shouldn't be having at the job site. Like, especially if we're saying things like we're behind schedule, we're not meeting schedule, or we're we're behind budget, we can't afford that. Things like that are not conversations or things that we say around our teams at the job site. We make sure that communication is understood and why some communications have a negative effect. And that's one of the things that happens is we get to that point. We need to be having those conversations and that clear communication as to what our goals are prior to that. And if we are meeting daily, we have a pre-meeting, a post-meeting, a weekly meeting, a monthly meeting, and when we're intervening at those points where we see if things are not going right, then we wouldn't have to be faced with that. So it's a blend of things that we do that put us in a better position.